Hello everybody, this is Purge, bringing you guys a first-person replay commentary of Vengeful Spirit. This is one of my favorite heroes. I've played her more than any other hero in the history of Dota 2, and I'd love to tell you why. First off, we'll jump to the Dotabuff section and cover the ins and outs, or at least the ultimate basics of what's strong about the hero, what's weak about the hero, and stuff like that. If you guys do want to skip this section, just click the button up on your screen, and let's hop over to it. I'm sponsored by Dotabuff, full disclosure, but damn, do I love this website. That's not convincing, because that was true. That was real emotions. Alright, basic hero attributes. Extremely good agility gain. Extremely good strength gain, especially for a support hero. And your int gain is sort of mediocre, but it kind of passes. Oops, that's my Skype. Sorry, guys. 1 second. Alright, do not disturb is on. Alright, movement speed is average. Normal sight range. Your base armor is really high, 3.78. Your base attack time is normal. Your base damage is kind of wide, a little bit low, but not terrible. And your attack point is solid. So all of these things... very good. As a hero, she's pretty solid. The one thing she is missing, though, is a full attack range. She's only got about 400 attack range, which is shorter than most heroes. In terms of skill builds, you almost always are going to want to max Magic Missile. It's like a single target stun. Slow projectile can be dodged very easily, but it's a pretty low cooldown, 10 seconds. Other than that, we have Wave of Terror, which does a magic nuke and an AoE, up to 120 damage, not very high, but it lowers armor for up to 15 seconds, and by leveling up you reduce the cooldown to 16. Very low mana cost at 40. This skill is actually pretty good right now because it does raw magic damage. In the past it did like HP removal and stuff like that, which could kill people but wouldn't interrupt blink daggers. So it basically shoots very rapidly, it can interrupt blink daggers, and it also lowers the armor. And the range is so long on this that you can cast it even if you're not nearby, which amplifies your allies' damage. So Wave of Terror is... Actually, it's a little bit easy to look at it and think it's not very good, but it's actually a very good ability. It's best as well for pushing towers, and this is or pushing lanes, and this is really important to remember because this is her only AoE. The only other way that she can kill things is single target nuke or auto attacking. So Wave of Terror is super important for pushing waves because all heroes ideally need to have a way to push waves, because if they don't, then they can't. They have some strategy deficits that at least their hero can't do. Third skill is the Vengeance Aura, which gives you and nearby allies damage bonus and creeps. The damage bonus is based on your base damage. So that is things like the damage you start with at the start of the game, any agility items you get will enhance this, things like that. So this combos very well with carries that will buy stat-based items or heroes that have large base damage. The creeps, for example, if they hit for 24 damage, they will get this damage multiplied based on that. And then your ultimate's called Nether Swap. It's very simple. You basically swap your hero's position with somebody else's, and the range is 700, 950, and 1200. It's a 45-second cooldown. Very good ability. You can get an Axe with it, but I don't really recommend it, so I won't even bother covering that. Almost always Vengeance plays as a support, and historically she's almost always been like that. She has been played as a carry a little bit recently, but it's kind of been fading off a bit. Talent-wise, attack speed 25 or 8% magic resistance. I always get the attack speed. The only time I might get the magic resistance is if I'm against somebody that just has a stupid amount of magic damage like a Zeus. But you have to remember how much 8% is. It's really bad. It's a very crappy talent in my opinion. If you have 1000 HP and I get this 8% magic resistance perk and they only do magic damage to me, that gives me 80 HP, which is equivalent to 4 strength. So it's basically 4 strength per 1000 HP you have. That's awful. 25 attack speed though is really good because you have something that increases your damage, you have something that lowers the armor of your opponents. This is the way that you push, is by getting an attack speed perk and auto-attacking creep waves. It's really important in my opinion to get this attack speed, because if you don't get it, you're never going to be able to farm unless you get kills. So I think the attack speed is absolutely mandatory in my opinion. At level 15, you've got plus 8 stats or plus 100 magic missile damage. That would put it up to 425 damage. I often want to get this, but it's not recommended at all because this is a very easily dodged ability. If they pop BKB, it doesn't do anything. They can blink dodge it. They can Yules dodge it. They can maybe use Glimmer Cape. There's a lot of ways to make sure Magic Missile doesn't hit. And there's a lot of times where you just can't reliably cast it because the cast range isn't even that long. It's around the same as your attack range. It's like 500 units. It's not very far. So getting bonus damage, especially at level 15, at that point as a support, it usually doesn't matter. And 8 stats is going to do more because that's 160 HP. That's 8 damage. Actually, it's more than 8 damage, because if you have Vengeance Aura maxed out, it doesn't just give you 8 agility. It gives you 8 agility and 34% extra damage from that. So if I do a calculator, I don't know, it's probably like an extra 3 or 4 damage or something like that. It's like probably 3 damage. Not even that. It's probably 2 to 3 damage. So you basically get 10 damage from this, 8 attack speed, 1 armor, and the mana, which is going to be around 90 mana, around 92 mana, something like that. Almost always the 8 stats is the better thing to do, but maybe there's some instances where magic missile damage is better. I'm not sure. At 20, you get either the damage or the movement speed. Now, I'm actually very surprised to see so many people get the damage. As a core, you will always get the damage, most likely. But as a support, movement speed is probably better. And I see it's only got a small win rate increase over it. But if you're playing Venge, most of the time your purpose is to get in range to swap, to get in range to an ally to swap, to get close enough to cast magic missile, things like that. And movement speed helps you do that better. It helps you escape, things like that. So pretty much every time I'll grab movement speed, but 65 damage is not bad. Just keep in mind the 65 is not modified by Vengeful because it's a base damage applicator. It's not a... it doesn't add your base damage. It's just the green text, the bonus damage. Level 25, this one's pretty straightforward as a pick. 20% Vengeful damage is insane. The only time I basically never get to 25 when I play Venge. Again, I haven't played her as a core much at all, but 20% Vengeful damage is insane. This already increases your and your team's damage by 34%. This is an extra 20%. So this puts you and your team up to 54% damage bonus, which is really strong, really, really strong. If you have 150 damage at that point, that's an extra 30 damage to you. And bonus damage to your allies and all that stuff. And if you die, Vengeful goes to your enemies while you're dead, which means that they will deal 54% less damage in the AoE of the guy that killed you. That's so much, especially if somebody's building all stats. Against a hero like Morph, that would be real OP. Magic Missile Piercing Spell Immunity is definitely situationally really good, but if they don't have BKBs, or if there isn't like a BKB black hole that's coming out of Enigma or something like that, then you probably don't need that. But this would actually be a really good way to deal with that, because you can actually swap through Magic Immunity. So if an Enigma buys a BKB and a Linken's, and you sit really far back, maybe get an Aether Lens, you could use Swap to interrupt, to break his Linken's, and then you could use Magic Missile to interrupt Black Hole. That would actually be a pretty cool solution. The downside is you have to be level 25, so it's kind of hard to even get to that point. But so that's all the basics of the hero. Common items, basically every boot choice is an option. I personally always buy either Tranquil Boots or Arcane Boots. Sometimes I think I've bought Power Treads, but not often. Magic Wand I think is a must, because your hero is often going to put yourself in danger with another swap, and you need the mana because your mana gain isn't very high. Desolator's only for cores. Force Staff is very important. You shouldn't buy Ring of Aquila if you're playing support, because this is an item that increases your right-click damage and gives you generic stats. You don't need to spend 1,000 gold on that as a support. If you want generic stats, you spend 480 or 465 to buy a Magic Wand, and let that be what it let that be your generic stats and mana regen. But a Ring of Aquila is like a farming item, a right-click damage item. It's a great item on Venge because it gives you a lot of agility, which further bonuses your Vengeance Aura. But as a support, you should never be buying this. So try not to fall into that trap, guys. Like, if you're playing support, you shouldn't be buying things like Sanjin Yasha's, Ring of Aquilas, etc. Those are strictly going to be for core plays. Aether Lens is a rare item you can get. Hurricane Pike is only core. You're just seeing these items up here because your average player doesn't know what to buy, and they make a lot of mistakes. That's why you're seeing every boot choice. So here's your good against. Oracle makes sense. Swap him out of position, kill him. Beastmaster, probably good against him because if he roars one of your allies, you can swap them out. Good against Timbersaw because you can lower his armor, you can stun him, you can keep him near your teammates. Most of these percentages are not that high, but it kind of makes sense. A lot of them are kind of vulnerable heroes that you can kill. Heroes really bad against are heroes that require AoE, as you can see. These three are all illusion heroes. I don't have AoE as Avenged, so I'm going to have a lot of trouble dealing with them. Same with Terrorblade, same with Meepo. These guys are just unnaturally, like, really, really tanky. I was slightly surprised to see that she's not very effective against Necrophos, but it kind of makes sense because I just have one nuke, I can swap, and Wave of Terror. So I can't actually help kill him. I can't lock him down long enough to ensure a kill. Swapping in my team isn't always better. Swapping somebody that's about to die doesn't really work because he's still going to die to Reaper's Scythe. So this percentage kind of makes sense. And against Chen, you can't stop his pushing very well, and Darkseer, same thing. Darkseer pushes lanes really well. Venge is really bad at pushing lanes, so if Darkseer pushes lanes all the time and I can't push lanes, then I'm going to have trouble dealing with this. So basically, anything that has a lot of units, Venge is not your go-to, okay? So that covers the basics of the hero. Let us hop into the actual game. Oh wait, I forgot to cover some things. Ha ha ha, jokes. 50% win rate at 5k, and my most played hero, I have about a 60% win rate. Almost always play support safe lane. And now we're going to do the thing where I have to go through every single Microsoft Edge window and say, no, I don't want to save my changes. Now I'm going to remove this. I'm going to go in Dota. And then we can do this. Close all tabs. All right. Player perspective, Vengeful Spirit. Alright, so starting items. This is usually around where I go when I play solo queue. I think this game I was the high MMR, so keep that in mind when you see how things turn out. I'm doing on average 46 damage with no stats. I was able to buy 1 Ironwood Branch this game. You might be wondering, why did I buy so much regen? Very often I do this when I play solo queue because I just simply want to know that I'm not going to have to be zoned out of the lane or something like that. Because if I do not have a lot of regen and things go a little bad, then I might have to walk all the way back to base, TP back to the lane, and that wastes myself at least like, what, 20... It's basically like 30 seconds to a minute, plus a TP scroll, which is very expensive in the early game as a support. I personally, when I play support, I really focus a lot on the tri-lane, and I usually pick heroes that do that. I do sometimes play roaming heroes, but I don't feel amazing at them. So I usually do other stuff. We didn't know where the Monkey King places ward. I can see now where he put it. It basically is to protect against roaming or wraparounds. But I also started with a sentry ward, and that's because I want to make sure that I'm able to deward any blocks or deward anybody that places a ward down in the lane. So I'm going to check here to see what Monkey King has. I see now that he has already placed his ward, so I know now that it's probably not in the lane because we didn't see him come up. Really nice Blood Rage by the Bloodseeker, and this is a pretty easy first blood. So one thing that I did slightly wrong there was I started running south right off the bat. Instead, I should have been running to the left because I wanted to instantly stack. If possible, you should always stack this large camp at the 1 minute mark so that you get a double stack, and then with the double stack, this means that your pulling afterwards is going to be a lot easier. So right now we're kind of just sitting around waiting to see if the Monkey King is going to come back. One thing that the Tusk did really poorly this game is he basically just consistently shadowed what I was doing instead of doing things for himself, I felt. Like, very often you'll see him sitting next to me when it's better for him to probably do something else. Like, in this moment, it was fine because he was basically prepping to pull. I was going to go check to see if the Monkey King was over there or something like that. Oh, he actually was tree dance. I didn't realize. I was thinking about eating that tree, but if I had level 2, that might have been more possible because I could use Wave of Terror to get vision of him. I also realized this game, I knew this slightly that Vengeful was very good against Monkey King, but I really realized it this game. And the reason being is because I can use Wave of Terror to scout for him on treetops. Surprisingly, I was able to come with that last hit. I didn't think I was going to. We're doing Bind Boots here. Clarity Potion coming through and prepping to pull. Very good against Monkey King because I can use Wave of Terror to scout for trees, and if it hits him before he's used a leap, then all he can do is Primal Spring Away, which is the jump one. Because you can still use that if you take damage, but you can't use the tree dance, the jump from tree to tree. So I can scout for him with the Wave of Terror, and then usually stun him afterwards. So I felt like Venge is pretty good. Not to mention, the biggest counter is that if he uses his ultimate, I can swap him outside of the range, and if I do that, then it gets cancelled instantly. So Venge is pretty good against that. So my goal here is basically just continue pulling, get kills on Monkey King whenever possible. I do want to auto attack this if possible as well, because I want these to die so that I can get experience for them. Pretty important. Experience, gold, all that good stuff. Can pull up last hits if you guys are curious. My mana ended up getting full from the Clarity Potion, which was great, and I got another point in my Magic Missile. Stun duration goes up a little, damage goes up a moderate amount. It's all pretty worthwhile. And I definitely want to deny this if possible, because it's going to give me a little bit more experience. He got a little experience from it as well, but I don't really care. I'm just going to come forward and slap him once. Rather than hitting him there, I probably should have walked back to the small camp and started a small pull and done a pull through. I think that would have been a better move here. Putting a sentry down to see if he warded here without us knowing, because I didn't want him to know if we were wrapping around. And this is a slight mistake from the Tusk, in my opinion, in that he's basically just always letting his opponent know where he is. And see, now I'm going back to pull creep, so we've wasted all this time. If I just would have gone back instantly, I would have got an extra pull off, and that would have been more denied experience and more gold for myself. So little moments of that where you don't pay attention to time. You'll think like, oh, I did something cool. Well, what am I going to do next? And you sit there for 2 seconds thinking about it. And that's usually the point where it's too late, because you needed to finish what you're doing and then immediately go on to the next thing. Slight mispull here because I didn't auto attack properly. So what I'm doing is dragging the aggro, because once that projectile hits me, it creates an aggro of AoE around my hero. So I just drag the attack into my hero. I'm going to then sneak over here, grab a bounty rune because I know that I don't want somebody else to get it. And then by the time I get back, I still actually am in time to get the large camp. This is a great time to gank this guy. I'm just going to get a ton of auto attacks in before I stun. He ends up dying, which is great. The other really good thing about Venge versus Monkey King is that Monkey King has really low armor at the start of the game. I'll show you guys here when he respawns. He's got 1 whole armor, 1.5 armor. So if I use Wave of Terror, lowers his armor by 3, he's at negative 1.5. And when heroes are closer to 0, basically within like the negative 10 to 10 mark, that's when minus armor does the most by far. Has a really big impact. So I'm just taking a look mid. I saw where the Tinker was. He was a little bit low. Because I could always possibly swing behind him, maybe get a kill here. But there was no bounty rune, so that's fine. I checked to see if it was there. It was not there. And now I'm going to do a pull. Now you might be wondering why I used Wave of Terror there. It's because I didn't think that if I didn't aggro that earlier, I could use Wave of Terror basically to aggro early. And if I do so, there's a better chance of the pull being completed because I was late. So sometimes you do have to use mana for that. The downside obviously being that now I don't have Wave of Terror. And I have 40 less mana. So when we do actually fight next, I'm not going to have Wave of Terror, whereas I would have had that otherwise. So a leveled up one, that's an extra 5, 20, 25 magic damage. Not much, but the extra minus armor is okay. And it's kind of like a free skill point, really. It doesn't cost more. His tree dance got interrupted there, as you saw. Again, the problem with Monkey King, if you catch him, he can't get away. It's that simple. He needs to get on trees. So he's honestly playing very... He's not playing smart. Like, why would he walk over there? Instead, he should be... If he wants to approach in that area, he should be jumping from tree to tree. That would be the smart thing for him to do. For sure. So I'm basically sitting around boots option. I remember this moment now. I played really shit. So this is one of those moments where Tusk is basically doing nothing. If you've seen what I've accomplished so far, I've been in a lot of kills. I've done a lot of pulls. And now I'm basically greeding out my energy booster. I'm sitting here thinking, like, do I sell an item? I basically just sat here. And I think it's kind of justified because I had no mana. My other options were walk back and start a pull and just get the energy booster later. This guy could have also done that, though. Like, what has Tusk done in this last minute? In some ways, I have an excuse, but 2 supports doing this is really bad, for sure. Because he definitely could have pulled in this meantime. And this is one of the reasons that he's under-leveled. Like, that's why this guy is only level 3 right now. It's because he hasn't been doing anything to further himself. He's just been staying in the lane thinking, maybe the Monkey King will show up. So I probably should have still gone back and pulled, not waited where I was. Maybe that's why he stayed, I'm not sure. But I probably should have at least yelled at him and said, like, go do a pull. I'm waiting for my arcane boots, for example. So, again, I would say 80% of the time, maybe 60% of the time, I feel like I go tranquil boots. But this game I went for arcanes. The reason being was... I felt like I was going to need a lot of mana this game. The laning stage-wise, absolutely, that was the case. I needed a lot of mana. In terms of the rest of the game, it's a pretty good arcane boost game for my allies because I've got a Bloodseeker who's obviously going to have some mana needs. The hero usually runs out of some mana pretty easily. Viper is sometimes in the same situation because they can regen their mana, obviously, but it's not super fast. This is my long overdue TP scroll that I should have bought probably a while ago. There's so many heroes in this area of the map. I kind of want to show up. I should have used Arcane maybe first, but I kind of want to get over here and invade against a hero. I want to stun later if possible, because you don't really want to... You don't want to initiate with a stun usually if you have the potential to chase. Got a skill point here. I don't know why I'm not leveling up. There it is. Way over chase here for this guy. Oh, he instantly dies. This is really stupid by him. I have no idea why he went uphill like that. Very silly. This dagger does interrupt me, but it should be fine. It's a little scary. He ran at me last second. Ultimately very good though. So if I know that the Night Stalker has to walk past me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click him as many times as I can before I'm forced to use a stun, usually. Because that's going to ensure that I get as much damage in as possible. That Viper's build was so bad. Like the match before this, I played a game with him, and he's like, I'm frustrated. It's time to win. And he first picks Chaos Knight, and he's like, I'm playing Chaos Knight support, which is not a good. It's not a good role. Don't do that, guys. I was very frustrated, but it's okay. I played like shit that game, and this game he's playing Viper. And then I was like, you know what? When I was forced to mid, I should have played an easy hero like Viper. I would have owned on that. So the goal here is interrupt him before he can tree dance. That mission is accomplished. I'm going to arcanes him as well in case he needs the mana. And as long as we deal damage to him, it's like Blink Dagger. He can tree dance within 3 seconds of taking no damage. And instantly I rotate back to the lane, already get a kill. So this is really important thing to do if you're a support. It's very important. Ooh, I should have stacked that. That was a mistake. It's very important that when you go somewhere, you get something done, and ideally as fast as possible. So if I rotate to the safe lane, I want to try to get a kill. I don't want him to know, like, hey, by the way, I'm back in the lane. I was top, but I TP'd back here, guys. You don't want them to know that stuff because it influences their how they play. But if you surprise show up, you get a kill, then you can go somewhere else and get something else done. They did a really good job with aggressive wards. I see them all on the map now. Alright, Night Stalker's blocked off here. Can maybe chase them a little bit. I sort of remember this one going really poorly. Kind of wanted to kill him. I don't have my 6 though, so getting a kill there is just not very possible. This was actually insane. It's a little surprised that he stayed. I think my Wave of Terror hit both. I actually did not hit him. I messed up. So basically that was way overly aggressive. Luckily I had vision because of the Bloodseeker. And then I survived. That was crazy too. That was just terrible. Honestly, the fact that we dove there, they got 2 kills. I barely got a kill and got out. That would have been 3 for that. I should have called the back as soon as the snowball and as soon as the ice shards missed, we definitely should have backed because we're basically fighting up a hill. They're gonna have it's closer to their base, so they're gonna have better TP support. All those things would have been a bigger issue. I'm trying to decide what to buy here, and I picked up a Windlace. I don't know if the Tomonologist is still there or not. I don't know why it's showing here. I think I queued it up because I wanted the Tusk to buy it because I knew he was underleveled. But now that I'm 6, my goal should be get a kill instantly, which is almost always going to be your job as a support. So what I did is I told the Bloodseeker to come to me. We're going to smoke and we're going to gank somebody because I know that if we rupture swap, they're going to take bonus damage. It's not going to be a ridiculous amount. Rupture does like level 1 is 30% move damage, so that means however far I swap, 30% of that does damage. So it's 210 pure damage, which is actually super good. That's basically a level 4 nuke. So he has to rupture, then I swap, and then we go for the kill, is the play here. And doing little, it was really unfortunate they did a side pull here, because this made the whole gank harder, but there's a swap for a little bit extra damage. Vision under the trees, luckily the fissure was there too. We'll get a pretty straightforward kill. So this looks kind of bad for me. I could have potentially just TP'd right there. Last minute silence. Or last minute 1 to keep myself alive and go back to heal. Okay, we're good. So as soon as you hit 6, that is the move. Anytime that Bloodseeker has Rupture, we need to get a kill with it. Because in between farming, it's going to really accelerate him. In terms of the rest of the team, Tusk has basically been sitting safe lane for a long time. I really hate his skill build. I absolutely hate this skill build. I think you should be maxing ice shards first, in my opinion. The scaling of Snowball is so good. Is not very good at all. Like the stun duration goes up quite a bit. That's the best thing about it, in my opinion. But you're basically putting 4 skill points in for an extra 120 damage and lowering the cooldown by 3 seconds. It's really not worth it. The bonus damage per ally is kind of irrelevant. He should just be maxing ice shards, lower the cooldown, barely increases the mana cost. The damage doesn't go up much, but it's better, and you can farm with it. Like that's the problem with the way that his build is going, is that it doesn't actually do anything other than snowball heroes for bonus. That's about it. Like yeah, if he snowballs like 2 people with him, he gets an extra 100 damage or something, but it's not worth it. He needs to push lanes as well. That's one of the big things about Tusk, in my opinion, is that you get like arcane boots and you go to a lane and you just nuke it with ice shards and push it. That way you can get opportunities to fight. So I'm trying to rotate over here. This is kind of dangerous, which is why I warded right there, so that I would know instantly if there were people watching me and ready to dive on me. I kind of wanted to swap that guy. I want to go on that guy as well, but it doesn't feel very safe. There's the swap to interrupt his TP. I just want to chase him now. Go for the stun. And I have to run because it's very likely he's going to try to laser me. When you are the squishy person, it's a guaranteed death when he uses Haunt. I think he got a double kill off of this. Yeah, I remember this. He got so much gold because I had a 4-time streak and he had a 6-time. So he just got like 1,100 gold from hunting there. That was so good for him. I still think our dive was okay. It's just, did we really? They got 2 kills at least. They killed the Night Stalker first, then they killed the Tinker, and they got a 4-kill streak as well. It does push Earthshaker pretty far up towards his Blink Dagger. That's not bad. It probably ultimately wasn't a good thing, but really wanted to kill this guy again. We stacked our stuns pretty heavy. Have to swap him. Fortunately, I didn't do it in time, but the Sigil will spot it out. He was so hard to kill here. It's because he had Vanguard. Because he had a 50% chance to basically block the entirety of our damage. Just a huge amount. So, works out. Took a lot of effort, but we did it. It's a Shadow Blade on the Bloodseeker. He's going Yules next. Never do that, guys. It's so bad. They honestly did such a good job with vision this game. There's always a ward spotting where we are. Pretty much throughout this whole game. If you're wondering why I don't get any Vengeance Aura, it's because the number got nerfed a little bit. I think it used to be like 12% or something. It wasn't a lot, but I preferred it. If I'd swapped there, I definitely would have gone on that. Probably would have died, maybe. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, Vengeance Aura. It's okay. I mean, it would increase my damage by 7. It would increase Bloodseeker's damage by 10. It's probably worth it to have 1 point, but I really like maxing out Wave of Terror lately, just because it, a little bit more damage, much lower cooldown. The cooldown part's nice. The minus armor is pretty cool. If the reason that they're basically not coming here and dying is because they have a ward, this is one of the... I should have probably realized this, like, oh, nothing's happening. Maybe there's a reason for this. And it's just because that they have vision. I think they spotted that smoke because their ward here, I think, was catching the Earthshaker. That was a really bad place for me to smoke because I should have inferred that... Oh, I remember this moment. This is now a very bad fight. I should have used my camera to look around the map more and realize that we're fucked. I was entirely focused on the Monkey King, but there was a lot more that went into that than just the Monkey King. I also... The Bloodseeker should have scouted ahead of place with the Shadow Blade, or I should have led the way better. Because I think I should have been able to swap the Monkey King out and put him in a worse spot. I don't even think that they had... I don't even know if they saw smoke, because they kind of were just sitting there and they got engaged on. But they were all in the area, which was the reason that was negative. Which kind of makes sense, right? If they're not in the safe lane, and they're not in the off lane, and they're maybe in the mid lane, they're all going to be here in our jungle, in their jungle. Which is stupid, but that was the reality. It's like one of those times where them not being good at Dota was the issue. Because if they were actually... They should have been doing something on the map, but they actually weren't doing anything at all. So level 8 now, again, Arcane Boots, Wand, Windlace, this is pretty decent. If you have Tranquil Boots, usually you're moving around to like 400 here. I think maybe faster. Because usually I like getting Windlace and Tranquil Boots, which is like 110, so that's like... It's basically an extra 90 movement speed. Or an extra 40, so I think it's like 420, 410, 420, something like that. Got a Bounty Rune spawning at 5. This is pretty dangerous, but... Basically just approaching to set up here. I definitely should sentry more often. I should have realized how much trouble we had getting easy kills under their tier 1 and realized that it's ward based. Because basically the entire reason that this was so difficult was because they had wards and they always see us approaching. So they see me doing the small camp, they see me setting up here, and now they know not to go. But if they didn't have the wards, we just somebody would have TP'd in and just died instantly. Guaranteed. I might have given vision there. Oh, we got a Spectre to the right. Oh, the Spectre is actually invis here. Checking to see. Checking for Tinker here. This is the part where we die. They definitely got lucky having an invis, but either way, same principle. We just didn't have vision. They had vision. they're naturally going to take a good fight. So what I wanted to do, what we probably should have done basically, is sit back here, use a smoke, run forward, and fucking kill somebody, is what we should have done. And now he's maxing Frozen Sigil. I was so on edge about that one.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
He's TPing bot to go gank bottom, which is good. Somebody should definitely be pushing this. We're basically taking free tower damage. It should have been the Bloodseeker. I hate this build so much. You don't need to spend 2,800 gold as a Bloodseeker to interrupt the TP. Just get an ally. That's what I'm here for. I can stun people, man. Clearly a big fight. I TP'd a little bit late. I think actually I did stun him there. Or I tried to at least. Really good fight for us. Spectre's long gone. Should buy another TP here. Should have. I mean, this guy's so gone. It's just... It's stupid how hard we tried on this, myself included. I shouldn't have even bothered.
Coin for me.
Dire's bottom tower
I like putting the
is under
sentry a
attack.
little bit more right spacing.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Had to swap to get him in rupture range.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Maybe I overworded there because I got both cliffs, but
Dire's bottom tower
I mean, he
is
was
under
kind of stupid to
attack.
be farming there anyways. He should anticipate that maybe we're going to be
Radiant's
in
middle
position for
tower
this kind
is
of a
under
thing.
attack.
So at level 10 here, I opted to get Vengeance Aura versus getting my attack speed because I felt like that would do more for my team. If I get one Vengeance Aura leading up to this, I usually grab Talent Tree over an extra point of Wave of Terror. Is usually what I do because I justify 25 attack speed is better than an extra 25 magic damage, 2-second cooldown, 1 armor reduction. I've got Swap in about 5. It's going to de-ward my Cliff Ward because it was pretty obvious. I initiated on him without vision. I think if I waved a little bit to the left, I would have gotten him. We're kind of overstaying here, I would say, because it's been a long time since we got a kill and showed up to pressure the lane. So we've certainly been here too long. I was a little bit late on that. I could swap him. I really messed up there in my opinion. That should have been a pretty easy kill. But I didn't quite pressure quickly. If I had purchased the TP scroll, like I said before from the side shop, I would have been able to TP for this. So I was irritated my team didn't defend, but I mean, that's on me as well. This is definitely a place we should get a kill because we're wrapping around and... Oh, now with Spectre here though, it's kind of dangerous.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
The hard part is basically like we're completely surrounded. I think I might have actually hurt my Viper here. The Monkey King did a really good job with this. I thought he was kind of stupid for stunning right away. I thought he should save it, but just a simple stun and ulti worked really well. Because he placed it in and he knew that I had to run that way, so worked out quite well. I would say the way the Viper went was actually stupid. He walked through the tier 2 tower basically. So, and this Viper is not a fast hero. We basically lost 5 heroes for absolutely nothing, and that fight was atrocious. And we're gonna lose tier 1 because of it. That was really bad. Our Viper is 1, 2, and 2 at this point, 22 minutes in. Still trying to get my Blink Dagger finished. I really like Blink Dagger on bench, especially in games when I'm the high MMR, because I know that it's going to allow me to set tempo. It's going to give me a lot more mobility, something that I'm losing by having Arcane Boots in the first place. And you could probably still criticize me for getting Arcanes. Maybe I should have gone Tranquils. Like, I bought it basically because I was out of mana, was one of the reasons. But it is truly good for my team. There's been times where I'm sure it's been useful. Still waiting to get my talent, max out Vengeance Aura, all that good stuff. I could also... There's a lot of magic damage this game. I kind of realized that much later, but there's a lot of magic damage this game. This is that pushing that I was talking about. Goes a lot faster if you Wave of Terror the lane. I probably should have kept an eye on bottom more. Like, they're actually fighting and it's taking me forever to look. TPing way too late here. If I would have TP'd earlier, I definitely would have gone in the time. Like, all I needed was like a second and a half or something. Wasted my TP now, especially because I was late. I don't know what I was thinking of or looking at, but got another boundary in 10 seconds, but I could also just ditch and go do something else. Instead decided to go check for a rune. This is a decent time to gank Spectre because he's clearly solo. Rune is top. I could also be greedy and go and get this bounty. This was a bad move, I think. For a Vengeful Spirit, this is a bad move. If I'm like an Earth Spirit or something, totally doesn't matter. Because they use Darkness, and I saw those guys running at me, I knew they were chasing me, so I'm basically just hightailing it straight to the shrine as soon as I can. Bounty snagged, though. Somebody got the bounty rune as well. I think it was Earthshaker, I guess. Ooh, they're all bottom. This is bad.
Dire's middle tower
They
is under
probably
attack.
shouldn't have been this far out, and they should have seen them running this way. I think this was a huge mistake for them to even be in that area of the map. I'm not sure what I'm doing right now. Clearly AFK. Just gonna farm this camp, I guess, while I wait. We still haven't taken their tier 1, which is pretty tough. I realized there's a couple moments where I was like, I should really use Magic Missile more in creeps because I've got Arcane Boots. It's like I'm not gonna run out of mana just casting Wave of Terror, so I should occasionally Magic Missile for a little bit of bonus damage.
Dire's top tower
Got level
is
12
under
now.
attack.
So level 2 swap, 25 attack speed. This makes up for the fact that I don't have treads,
Dire's
basically.
structures are fortified.
They just warded so good this game. They saw me every single time I went somewhere.
Dire's top tower
So I was
is
a little bit
under
late on that.
attack.
If you wave a Terror as his TP finishes, then I'm 100% dead. This really sucked too, because I was actually really close to blink. 70 gold. But again, same issue.
Is under attack.
They've got a ward, they see me coming, period. It's that simple. Well, he used his Yules, guys. And now he's got S and Y. This is like the greediest shit I've ever seen. This is actually the greediest shit I've ever seen. He is way overdue for a BKB. He needed a BKB like an item ago. He could have gotten BKB after Shadow Blade and I would have been content. Realistically, like SB into Sanjin Yasha is what he should have done. But he certainly should have like treads or something. It's like just sitting Brown Boots, especially on a hero like Bloodseeker who will farm, is just a bad idea, basically. Oh, this guy's actually so dead. What is he doing? Anyways, I'm alive. TPing behind because I think I can make an impact here. I put a ward down for some vision. I wanted to go on that guy, but it was very difficult. I didn't feel comfortable. I felt like I would die if I went in, and I think that would have been the case. Even swapping him wouldn't have worked. I'm just going to stun him right away. Get some space on this dude.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
That kind of made me feel like they had a ward on the cliff, because he kind of lasered me right off the bat. Got Blink Dagger,
Radiant's
so I'm
top
going to fly
tower
that out
is
to
under
myself.
attack.
Do I hit the fountain? I don't think I do. I should just be getting back to the fight. I'm late to get back to the fight here. I think I was inefficient. I should have had the courier run to me, probably, with speed boost, ideally. That would have been way better. I'm gonna swap him away to hopefully keep the Earthshaker alive. I don't know if it made a difference or not. Looks like I actually did save him. And unfortunately, this is where I walked into the Night Stalker again. That sucked. I felt shitty about that one. But it was a pretty long fight, so it's not too surprising that somebody came back. I don't even know where he was standing. Okay, he was right here. Oh, okay, he stole the dagger, I see. Makes sense. So it's a pretty jam-packed game, that's for sure. Net worth-wise, I think we're doing poorly. Because Bloodseeker's up there, Viper's doing pretty good. It's not terrible. It's not going great. Tuska's super underfarmed, like extremely underfarmed.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
I think he bought a lot of the wards, it seems like. No, I placed both of these. I realized at this point that I double placed, but it was Night Stalker nighttime, which is why I made a mistake. But this is not what you do. You don't spend your first like 1,000 gold on a headdress and a magic wand. These don't actually make you that much stronger. They give you some HP longevity. What you really need is a mana solution, ideally. It's definitely time to run here. Blink dodge the missile. I feel like I probably could have killed one of those guys if I committed, but I was playing the Tinker though. If he ruptures the Tinker, we definitely get a kill. But the Night Stalker had so much HP that if I ruptured him, it doesn't make a big difference. So it was kind of hard for me to make decisions in that fight because I felt like the Bloodseeker didn't use his abilities on the right people. Even going Silver Edge first is just not worth it. He's doing it so that he can break the passive on the Spectre, which is cool and all, but it doesn't do everything. I blinked to the top lane because I wanted to get a kill here with the Viper. And I figured that nobody was going to come forward, so I thought I could go back and get this bounty rune. And now I'm going to shift down to the safe lane. And at this point, I basically realize I'm taking way too much magic damage, so time to transition towards something that keeps me alive better, and a cloak will go a long ways. So I'm taking missile damage. Laser is pure, so that doesn't matter. But he's about to have a Radiance, which is going to deal a lot. Night Stalker damage is mostly magic. The Silencer as well does a lot of magic. It's kind of a bad place to smoke. Very often there is a ward there.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
All the lanes are kind of pushed in right now, so this is kind of just a shitty situation for us. That was Tinker. Fortunately, he got out. I think I made a pretty big mistake even trying for this. I think if we were there ahead of time, this would have been fine, but it was just very greedy to even try to get that kill if we're not prepped for it. We should have instead taken the smoke somewhere else, most likely. Or we should have waited until daytime to do the smoke, because if you're smoking at nighttime, it's really hard, especially against a Night Stalker, because it's a good chance that they're going to see you before you see them when you do actually smoke break on somebody. But he basically just does the same thing. The lane's a little bit pushed. We realize later when we show up, what we should be doing is thinking like, oh, he's going to TP in here. We should set up to this. And then as soon as he gets in, we react to it. Like right now, this would be perfect, basically. I don't know what this guy... He did that really poorly as well. He probably, if he was there, he probably should have gone on the Silencer. That would have been an option. Or escape. He tried to snowball me in, but it's not like it's going to save me if he prevents me from taking damage for 3 seconds. It's like all of our coordination at this point just felt really weak. Lanes aren't really being pushed that well. Bloodseeker isn't really ready to fight. He's trying to like solo gank this game, but really teamwork would be better. I don't know, everything was just hard. Earthshaker would be good for ganking as well. Just constantly great wards. They had such good wards this game. So at this point, we're pretty much extremely behind. Team fighting against the Spectre is really tough. I'm going to swap him for a maximum range. That felt pretty good.
Radiant's top tower has fallen.
I'm going to go back and watch that again because I feel like you guys might have missed it. God, I hate what I got a Steam pop-up. Oh, I can use like split. I'm going to go back 20 seconds. There's a giant tree on screen. Wave of Terror. He breaks him here. So I blink to the high ground. It's pretty much maximum swap range. He takes a shitload of damage. Stun follow-up. Really easy. I think he didn't have Blood Rage on, actually. Clearly Monkey King is going to jump on this tree any moment. There it is. Okay. If I would have kept running, I might have been able to live there. So my blink was almost off cooldown. I could have dodged him, perhaps. I don't know why he didn't cancel there. He really should have canceled his enchant. So by not canceling, he ensured that he didn't have a stun if he caught him. So it was like a pretty good fight. We got a lot out of it. We got a shitload out of it, actually. I even gained gold. I got a lot of experience, too. Can't complain. Spectre lost 400. That's really good for tempo. Viper with this like really weird build. The Manta Hurricane Pike. It kind of makes sense because you can remove the silence from Night Stalker. You can remove laser, blind. You can remove silence over here. It's kind of cool. I'm just not I don't know if I'm the biggest fan though. Wow. What is this? Let's go back and see that from my perspective. Basically, he haunts here. I knew that was the real one, and if he jumps to me, that means he's afraid and he wants to get away. Luckily, the Bloodseeker was already here, and it took a lot, but we killed her. Definitely took a lot. That sucked. Night Stalker had rotated over. I got blown up. I don't know why he snowballed so late. He snowballed so late there. That actually really hurt us. Because he might have been able to keep the Bloodseeker alive. No stuns, unfortunately. I feel like he's kind of using all of his abilities ineffectively. He does have mech finally finished, so that's pretty good. He also got the experience gain perk, so he's actually leveling super fast now.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Snowball damage, I actually really like that one because it helps you push lanes because your snowball does 350 damage, so between ice shards and snowball you can one-shot a creep wave. But I'm not the biggest fan of the mech build. I like Blink Dagger a lot better. Like Arcane Blink, something like that. I think works far better than the opposite. In the meantime, I've just been pushing top because that's what Vengeful Spirits do sometimes.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Trying to get in swap range here. I don't really care about the circle because we're just going to kill him anyways. This is really weird from him. That was just super throw. I have no idea why he did this. Vanguard, Shadowblade, Echo Saber. I mean, he's pretty farmed, but he probably should have maybe even prioritized. I don't know if it makes sense or not, but maybe for him to go BKB at some point. Maybe a Lincoln's. If he goes Lincoln's, he can stop my swap and other things. I mean, I could have probably just made that. You know why he was tanky? It's because his ulti. I should have broken his ulti because he had probably a level 2 ulti or something like that. He had level 3 ulti. So he had 20 bonus armor. That's why he was hard to kill. Not just because he has a lot of items, because I didn't even think about that. I didn't think like, oh, I need to remove the damage output. I didn't care because I knew we were going to kill him. But I should have thought like, oh, I can break his 20 bonus armor, which would have been useful. So then I could have lowered his armor down to like 5, and then it would have been easy. God, they actually warded so good against us. Use Glimmer Cape here to try to catch the Night Stalker. Swap in here to make the rupture easier. Do not have Glimmer for a second. Mech was actually pretty huge there, I must say.
Dire's middle tower
Wave a tear as soon as you can. I went for the Glimmer TP home because I didn't really feel like I was going to be able to contribute without dying. So Viper ends up dying for it, but I think it was maybe okay. I wouldn't be surprised if we made gold on this one. That's just even, basically. Tinker gets a lot, though. That's pretty bad. Yeah, he's already 25 now. Just hit 20. Wow, spell lifesteal over laser damage. I'm actually really surprised. I feel like that's a big mistake. I don't know what pro players get, but laser damage is so big. He's already got Ags. It bounces. He could do that's 100 pure damage, guaranteed. And because he's got all the spell amp already, it's an extra bunch of damage based on that. Yeah, I feel like it's so good. Oops. Anyways, we're getting dived. Let's go back to see what I was doing. City mid. They're about to go high ground. Ooh, actually maybe could have killed that range creep. I interrupted his rearm at least. Yay, Glimmer. Oh, those misses. I actually got so lucky.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
I couldn't believe he actually TP'd there, but maybe he wasn't feeling the threat because I was low HP. So I just got a stupid amount of gold. The game honestly kind of felt lost at this point, though, I must say. It's his dust. Fortunately, I'm not going to be able to stop his tree dance. That was so sick from him that he got that. Chain stun you with the tree dance stun, and I get a triple kill. This was the first two. What about this one? And this was the next kill. So I got a stupid amount of gold. I basically got like 3k gold from that. And we saved our range barracks, which was crazy. I mean, I guess it kind of made sense for Tinker to go for that play, right? He almost killed me. I barely survived, and then he tried to TP within vision. I mean, he could have just rearmed Blink to a tree, though. That would have been a lot safer. I mean, you really shouldn't mess around against a Vengeful Spirit near a fountain, because if you do, you can very easily die. So now what I'm doing is I'm going for Lotus Orb. I also put a ward down aggressively, obviously. Purpose of the Lotus Orb is... Ooh, I see that courier. I know that my hero does a lot of damage, so I go for the Blink double hit. The big mistake I made, though, is I should have TP'd to the shrine. I didn't realize this until afterwards, but I definitely should have TP'd to the shrine. Because if they actually fought my team near Roche, then I wouldn't have been there. I mean, they had dead heroes, so I guess it wasn't that big of a deal. But killing the courier is a huge advantage. But I actually couldn't believe he went in on this. I thought this was kind of crazy. Oh, I missed. I forgot about that. I tried to get the Tinker Hex going a little bit faster, but I just want to prevent him from blinking, so that's why I blinked in aggressively. I actually couldn't believe he didn't hit him. It took a very long time. So I basically just went on the Tinker because I wanted to prevent him from blinking away because he was so low. I just had to keep auto-attacking him. That was the goal. And then we won a huge fight here. This guy went in really, really late. Was that, did he use for the Jingu Mastery? Does that even work? Can be dispelled? Doesn't really say. Maybe it can be. How much gold do we get from that? That was a 6k gold swing. Tusk got a crap load. Bloodseeker did the most damage there. He still doesn't have any special boots. Honestly, I feel like if you go, like you really, I really feel like if you sit on brown boots all game, you should just buy a phase or something. Like he's got a lot of money. And think of the movement speed, the damage that he would have had increased farm speed with the entire game otherwise. I just think it's crazy. So at this point I'm looking for any free kills that I can get. If anybody gets out of position, I want to be there to facilitate them. Like this one. This guy doesn't have a BKB, just a huge mistake. This gives me mana regen as well, which is kind of nice. But I guess I lost Arcanes to get it right. So all of a sudden, we were about to lose the game, is what it felt like. All of a sudden, like, Tinker overdives. Oh, they die here again as well? It was just, it was crazy. They just kept dying so much. Kill shrines, everybody's got bonus damage. This is pretty much the part where it's time to run. I can wave a Terra this, but that's basically all I can do. Okay, we got the Spectre kill, that's good. I'm kind of still hanging out. Blink dodged the missile. God, the laser. I would have died there, I think, if he actually had the damage. Was it 90, not 75? For some reason I thought it was 90 or 75. I think it used to be. Alright, so level. This is like honestly the first time I've ever hit 25 on level on a bench support. Ever. I've either lost the game before I hit 25 or the game ended before I hit 25. But this one was actually close enough and there was just a ridiculous amount of kills because everybody was playing bad. So I actually got the 25. So now I give 54% damage bonus to everybody on my team. None of my items give me bonus damage. Oh, sorry, 10. 10 bonus damage is all I have. So that means I'm getting 71 damage from Vengeance Horror right now. Which basically means, despite having full support items, I'm actually competitive as a right-click hero. Like, it's worth mentioning how much damage I do. And now I actually push pretty fast. And all my creeps have 50% more damage, all that stuff. So at this point in the game, I'm thinking, I've got 4,000 gold. I pretty much have all the items that I want. Where do I go from here? And my first choice was to get Boots of Travel, because it's going to allow me to have 55 more movement speed, which is huge at this point. It's actually really huge. And it's going to let me TP around the map, and I'm going to have more item slots. And because I have a gem right now, it's probably worth having. So now I run all the time at 435 movement speed, which is insane, because I do have the 35 movement speed perk. And I have a Blink Dagger. You know, I also could have gone something like a Force Staff, wouldn't be bad either. Just because it shouldn't just be Blink Dagger. I could Force Staff an ally that gets in trouble, for example. And now I'm thinking, alright, what's next? And my next thought was, I can disassemble the Glimmer Cape and I can make a Shadow Blade. Because I'm pretty much at the point where I'm in ultra luxury items. I can pretty much buy whatever the hell I want that should fit the game. So one of my choices was, I want to become better at ganking heroes, better at carrying, because at this point I might as well transition, right? I've already got bonus Vengeance damage. The only thing that's different about my build from a carry Venge is that they'll probably go 65 damage at 20. So, and my items obviously. So I might as well transition at this point. So the goal was I get Shadow Blade, I can maybe get a Silver Edge later, and then I could be the one that initiates on Spectre, or we can stack Silver Edges, or something like that. And then my follow-up to that was I've got this cloak. Let's turn it into something better.
Dire's top tower
I Lotus Orb the Viper. Probably should have saved it here. Swapping the Monkey King out so that he doesn't get his ultimate. I am probably blinking a little too aggressively here. Oh, he's taking Corrosive. That's what's happening. I put that on the Bloodseeker. What's it called? Actually, it was okay. So we did actually lose this fight. I thought we did. Okay, it was a buyback from Spectre. Is why we lost that. They actually didn't get that much gold. They got 2k. It was mostly for Silencer. Silencer got a lot out of that. Tinker did like an insane amount of damage. But buyback at that point, I don't know why I have levels up. Sorry, that doesn't make sense. Now Spectre is really far behind. I think he's bought back at least twice this game. I feel like something like that. Definitely a bad fight though. I remember in the moment I felt like I used Lotus Orb wrong that fight, and I absolutely agree with that. Looking again, I used it initially to remove the Lotus from the Viper. I probably should have done myself maybe, because I can actually do something with my skills. But if Viper gets Lotused, what is he gonna do? Cast his ultimate on somebody? He just kind of like ran around in a circle. I don't even think he realized he wasn't silenced. So I should have maybe used it on somebody else. Does my Bloodseeker gonna have BKB yet? He does finally, yes. But he still doesn't have like a boot choice, which at this point, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. Anyways, I probably should have used it on myself. And the second time, same situation. I keep using it on people that probably don't need it. The other hard part is if I Lotus somebody, but Tinker lasers somebody next to that guy, he still takes the laser damage. So in some ways, Lotus doesn't help that much against the Tinker. The real benefit of it is certainly silences on important heroes, or hexes, because I can remove a hex, and he does have a hex, obviously. So I finished my hood here. That'll make a big difference too. It's an extra 10% magic resistance, plus I get the HP regen. And once I finish pipe, then things get a lot easier, because everybody on my team at that point will have 10% extra magic resistance, and nobody has a pipe yet, which is a little surprising considering we're against a Tinker. But I think it was the right move. I think my Glimmer Cape kind of solved things in the early game, and we didn't really need to like go all in on having AoE magic resistance. And the only other person that could have bought him maybe is Tusk, maybe Viper if he really wants to, and he went like all. His build is actually very good for having Avenge on his team. See, we'll wait to see when I approach him, but he's got 200 plus 98 right now. And we'll see what it is when he gets close to me, if I ever walk close to him. 200 plus 98. He's getting 107 damage from my Vengeance Sword right now. That's insane. And that's mostly because he's bought so many stat items. S and Y gives him 16 agi. This is 15 agi. This is 20 agi. Treads is 10. This is 9. All of those things, the agi that it gives is amplified by, you get 50% of that damage, 54% of that damage. Again, I don't know if I checked this cliff. I don't have a gem here. So this is kind of crazy. I also bought out buying the pipe, but I think in this circumstance, this is worth it. I'm scouting with Shadow Blade with the smoke, so if smoke breaks, I know somebody's nearby. I used the Lotus on the Earthshaker because I thought he would be the one that would be able to do stuff here. Pipe is used. Honestly, you know what actually hurt the Tinker so much was the corrosive the corrosive skin. Remove with Lotus Orb. I don't think I did this super well. I think I could have chased better there.
Dire's bottom shrine is under attack.
The fight went pretty well. The corrosive skin actually hurts the Tinker so much because if he just does damage to everybody, he keeps getting his blink interrupted is what's happening. He has to blink perfectly after rearming, which should be possible because it's like a 1 second timing for corrosive skin. But it keeps interrupting his blink dagger, and once the blink dagger is interrupted, he got a little flustered there, surely. Like, he just kind of walked and tried to run, and he didn't do it correctly, but he knew the rupture would be coming. Now we're just cleaning up. Alright, and that ends the game. Then we won. This game felt so good to win. It felt so good to win this game.
Radiant victory.
Got super farmed. Everybody was very leveled. It seemed like we were going to lose for sure, and we won. So I was very pleased. Game was very hard, though. I think if I was to blame anybody on the enemy team, I would say that We pressured Spectre really well. I think we did that for sure. Spectre got super pressured this game. Again, their warding was amazing. Watching the replay, they always had wards spotting where we were. They did a great job on that. So I definitely need to consider buying Gem more often. I think that's a minimum. Because I could use it to de-ward so many wards, and that gives us a vision advantage, which means that our fights go better because they won't necessarily see our moves. I think the Tinker played pretty darn well. He definitely had high farm. If we look at like player net worth, he should have been at the top like the whole game. Pretty much, yeah. Equal with Bloodseeker. Spectre, I would say, underperformed. The Monkey King super underperformed. I think he was the biggest dead weight on their team. I think the Silencer seemed to do well from my perspective. But the Monkey King super underperformed. He was off lane. Obviously, we killed him all in lane. He shouldn't have died that many times. But the bigger mistake that he made was that he just didn't have a BKB. So whenever there was a fight, he just gets chain stunned. Obviously, if he BKBs, I can still swap him. But he doesn't need Vanguard and Echo Saber and Shadow Blade. He basically overbuilt these like low mid-tier items. One of these should have been a BKB, simply put. Tusk couldn't do magic nukes. He wouldn't be silenced by Bloodseeker, or Shaker couldn't chain stun him or stun him at all. Viper couldn't even use his poison abilities. Like, BKB is so mandatory on Monkey King. Yes, I could still swap him, but that's assuming that I don't have to use swap for something more important. So, yeah, got 28 MMR, so that put me closer to 5.7. I think I lost some games. I'm at 5.622 right now. So, definitely have dropped since 6K, but I feel better about playing right now, so... in terms of like personal skill, so definitely we'll keep playing solo queue. Spent a pretty good amount on support imps. Yeah, Tusk spent a little bit more. Looks like Silencer was the warding boss. The guy did really well. 15 sentries as well. Pretty crazy. That is so many wards. But yeah, really fun game. Very high action. A lot of shitty plays. Well, that leads for some of those close games anyways. Alright, thanks everybody for watching. I appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the game. Learned a little bit more about playing support at higher MMRs, and thanks for watching. Bye, guys.